Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on today's episode of 20 Somethings. I'm Tico,
And I'm Felly.
and we're just a couple of 20 somethings who are holding space for the lyrics of Defying Gravity. Like, when I tell you that Wicked, both the musical and the movie, has completely rewired my brain, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not exaggerating. I just can't stop thinking about it. From the storyline to the acting to the cinematography to the music to the wardrobe to the lore, it's all I can think about.
I love Wicked too. It's my favorite movie outside of The Wild Robot right now.
Real.
I am so happy I got to experience it in the theaters. It was amazing. I keep telling everyone I went to see Ariana Grande and left in complete awe of Cynthia. Like, she's such an amazing actress, an
Amazing.
amazing singer, and I can't wait. I'm literally counting the seconds until part two comes out.
I
I'm
know. Like, Wicked is
so
my
excited.
personality right now. And like for the next year, like it's literally going to be my personality. I promise you that. Speaking of Wicked, today we're talking about a topic that's also super fun, but also near and dear to our hearts and our closets. In case you haven't guessed, we're going to be talking about fashion, but more specifically, personal style. Of course, I'll let Felly talk about her personal experiences, but I, for one, have always been someone who loves fashion to the point that when I was younger in primary school, I actually wanted to be a fashion designer.
Oh my god,
And I
same.
know you did. This is why we're friends. We see each other. We see each other. Um,
Yeah,
and then when I was in high school, before I wanted to be a global pop sensation, of course, I actually wanted
yep.
to be a model. Like no lie. Like I actually wanted to be a model. So I was so serious about it that I was like, I told my family, guys, I'm gonna become vegetarian because I wanted to like, work on my figure and like I was exercising all the time. And like
Same. Same.
I really look
Yeah,
at
the
us.
fashion designer to model pipeline has to be studied because I
That's
went through a similar phase and I was like, yep, fashion designer and a model, like I could see it. Yeah. So yeah.
like I bought a lot of like all right, this is what I would do. So of course I get my lunch money to go to school, but what
Hmm.
I do is I'd like actually save it so I could like buy fashion magazines. So I
Wow.
know. So I would buy like 17 and then eventually I bought like Nylon magazine. Like Nylon was
Wow.
my favorite. It was so much fun. And then eventually like I moved on to Vogue, which
Wow.
is, the fashion Bible.
The
Um
yes.
and then I'd watch like live streams of fashion shows. There's this YouTube channel called like Fashion TV. I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with Project Runway and America's Next
Love
Top
Project.
Model. Like, I'm telling you, that show, oh my God, obsessed. Absolutely obsessed. Like fashion, also Gossip Girl. Like that was my
Gossip
jam.
Girl,
Like
yeah.
I remember I was just like obsessed with like Blair and Serena's outfits and of course Jenny, of course. And it's like even though they were like rich Upper East Siders and I knew I could never like afford that. Like I always fantasized about like moving to New York and living that glamorous,
Still
like
fantasize about
still
that. It's
it's still part of like the dream, my teenage dream for sure.
yeah.
Like, so I'm so glad that you can like identify with that. But yeah, what I was saying is fashion was and still is my life. Like, it's such a fun way to express who you are, but it's also deeply personal. Like, what you wear
Mhm.
says so much about how you feel, what you want to project, and even how you see yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's literally a walking mood board. Fashion is more than just what we wear. It's about how we present ourselves, how we feel, how we show up in the world. And in your 20s in particular, I think it's an important time because it's such a transitional period in your life. You're figuring out who you are. And yeah, I want to like talk about what it means to have a distinct, unique personal style right now in your 20s. But before we dive in, just a quick disclaimer. Neither of us has a degree from the Fashion Institute of Technology or any fashion school for that matter. We're not the fashion police, and we're definitely not here to claim we're arbiters of taste. We're just two 20 somethings figuring it out just like everybody else, right, Phil?
Right, right.
Right. And we're just here to share our thoughts, our thoughts, our experiences. So take what resonates, laugh at what doesn't, and let's just have fun with it. So the first thing I want to talk about is personal style as self-expression. To me, personal style is not just about what's trendy or what's in season. It's about self-expression. It's saying, this is who I am, or maybe this is who I want to be. So your wardrobe is like you you and your personality, but in fabric form. Some days it might scream bold and colorful energy. Other days it's muted, neutral, and all about comfort. And that's okay. Your style doesn't have to stay the same every day or even every year. But for you, Felly, I want you to tell me about what personal style means to you and what's the difference between fashion trends and having a personal style.
Hmm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, personal style to me means, as you said, it is intrinsically linked to how you view yourself, and it is almost like your personality in fabric form. And with that, I wholeheartedly agree. But I also think it is the way you want to be perceived without saying anything to
Right,
anyone.
right. Like first
I
impression.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's almost like another language. As someone who is creative, I saw someone say that artists have figured out a way to communicate with others through lines, shapes, and colors. And fashion is linked to that as well because it's, well, for me at least, when I see someone for the first time, I take note of their outfit. I think
Same.
my eyes go to shoes, then what jewelry they're wearing, if their shirt has like a saying on it, or
Right. And
the
not in like a
colors of
judgy way.
clothes.
It's just trying to
No, I
gauge
just
who their
love
aesthetic.
seeing stuff. I
Hmm.
am so visually in tune with what's around
Same.
me,
Hmm.
and I just love seeing how people put themselves together, good or
Exactly.
bad.
Right. And it's like,
Whoops.
so, like for me, I love when I'm like doing my gay little task on the road and then like I see someone and they have like an outfit that's so unique and cool. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to be their friend. You know what I
Right.
mean?
I
And
understand. Yeah.
yeah, it's just so cool to see how people know exactly who they are and they aren't afraid to articulate it or present it in a particular way, especially if it is not aligned with the status quo. You know what I mean? Like I love it. Like when people are like audacious and bold with how they define their style. In fact, it's what I admire. It's one of the many things I admire about you actually, Felly. Like you're
Whoa.
it's true.
Wow,
Like from
thank
the
you.
first time I met you, it's like you're so
I do
well.
remember the first time you met me actually, and you told me you liked my pants. And I was
Exactly.
like, wow, thank you so much.
But it's true. It's like every time I see you, it's like you're walking out of a fashion show. It's like you really,
Wow, I
I,
really appreciate that
it's
compliment.
true.
Thank you so
It's
much.
true. It's like it's so obvious how intentional you are about your outfit and your wardrobe. And it's like I don't know where you got your stuff from. Like if you have, a particular store that you like to visit or if it's all
Um,
online, you can tell me all about that, of course. But for me,
yeah.
it's just I just love the time and effort that you put into crafting your wardrobe. It's
Oh,
so
thank you.
cool. It's so cool. And with that being said, tell me, please, who are your fashion inspo? Like, who do you look up to in terms of fashion, in terms of personal style? Like, who influenced your aesthetic?
My
And
style. Okay.
how would you describe your aesthetic?
Okay. A lot of questions. Thanks. Maybe I can also try to answer your first question about what's the difference between personal
Yeah,
style
right.
fashion trends.
Yeah.
And I think my
Sorry, that's
answer to this,
how my
no, no,
mind
no,
works. I'm like a
that
million things
is
all at once.
fine. That's totally fine. I do think my answer for the second question about who is my fashion icon, I guess, and where I get my
Hmm.
inspiration from, firstly, I think personal style and fashion trends are not the same thing. A
Hmm.
fashion trend right now just means what is booming in the fashion world, in the fashion space. A
Hmm.
lot of people like to say that TikTok has revolutionized the fashion industry
Right.
in the sense that we have a lot of trends happening at the same time.
Hmm.
So it gives persons the opportunity, I think, to tap into different trends and aesthetics to figure out who it is they are.
Hmm.
Um, Whereas personal style is unique to the individual. So that can mean, for example, I like preppy and I like cottage core. And for those
Ooh.
who don't know, preppy style is more uniform based, I guess. So it's
Hmm.
like taking the patterns and textures of a school uniform and making them wearable outside of that context.
Right,
So
like
I
the
like.
dark academia vibe.
Sure. So
Hmm.
glasses, loafers, socks, a lot of layering, sweaters,
Hmm. Plaid.
structured collars, exactly. And cottagecore is more of a romantic kind of frilly, girly lace, chiffon,
Hmm.
cashmere, that kind of vibe. Bows, of course, fruits,
Hmm.
all those lovely things. And now, to describe what a personal style would be, it would mean that I would take inspiration from those different things and wear an outfit that combines those things that are personal to me. So I like strawberry. So you'll see I'll have maybe hints of red in my outfits, and I like
Red is your
preppy.
color. Like whenever I see you in
I
red, I'm
know I
like,
like
oh my
red.
God.
I used to
Like
hate red. I thought red meant that you're a very angry person. Sorry to all the people who I have judged who's told me their favorite color is red. I take it back. I fully understand.
Taylor
Shade of
Swift is somewhere shivering in a corner, like quaking, like, what?
red.
One of her best
And,
albums,
and
right?
as you can see, a current fashion trend now is that burgundy kind of
Hmm.
cherry red, deep wine red. That
Right.
color is super trendy right now, and
Hmm.
I love it. And let's not get it twisted. Being on trend isn't a bad thing.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people in the fashion industry try to make it seem like, oh, you're on trend right now. Boo to you,
Right.
like you don't know who you are. Da, da. And it's like just as we figure out who we are as individuals, so does our fashion sense.
Hmm.
Fashion is supposed to be fun. Like being a person is supposed to be fun. Full stop. Like
Hmm.
we sometimes as human beings we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be this idealized version of ourselves, and we let that infiltrate different aspects of who we are,
Right.
specifically fashion as well.
Right.
And it removes this childlike innocence that we often yearn for. And
Hmm.
another trend in social media is like the inner child and healing
Yes.
that. And yeah, but it's also just all of these things that society has placed on us to make us feel like we have to be a certain way to be okay. So your personal style
Hmm.
would be trendy right now because, to be honest, we all don't really know who we are. And every day I'm figuring myself out. So
Same.
personal
Same.
style isn't something that it will always be constant. I think a good example of this, when I was thinking of coming on the show, it came
Hmm.
to me today. Euphoria, when there was that montage and they said Maddie knew who she was at a very young age. Like there are some people who know exactly who they are,
Right.
had a personal style that is chronological with all of their different experiences, that they haven't diverted from that, and that's
Right.
awesome, and kudos to you guys. But
Mhm.
most
The
of us
rest
are
of us are
still
still figuring it out as we go
figuring it
along.
out. Yeah,
And I'm so glad
exactly.
that you brought up Euphoria because, girl, when I tell you about those outfits, Euphoria High, oh my God, I wish I was enrolled. I would like, I don't care if it meant I would be a junkie whore in the corner, like. You know what I mean? But it's just
I understand for sure because some of the stuff they were wearing, I'm like, where are their school bags? You
literally
guys are
like
going to
who,
school,
I mean, who needs books when you're looking that banging? Like, who cares?
right?
Who cares? Who
Yeah,
cares?
yeah,
I was
yeah.
obsessed with cats like outfits, not gonna lie. Like just the whole
Cat.
like
Well, cat
it,
was very cool.
I
Yeah,
know. Who do, I'm trying to see whose other style I like. I also
yeah.
like honestly
There's
all
Dreams
the
as
outfits.
all of
Yeah.
them had their unique looks. What I will say is I never fully loved anyone's style particularly, but I'm one of those persons I like to shop and say, okay, I like this, I like
Hmm.
that aspect of it. So there are different aspects of the different characters that I felt something fashionably inclined to be like, okay, yep, I see where you're going with that. I like that article. Add to
Right.
cart. Add to mental cart.
Real. So real. Oh, and Cassie, I did like Cassie's clothes as
Cassie,
well.
yeah, I like her
Um,
color scheme for sure.
I know. Although I'm wondering if it's because I relate to her personality where I'm like, yeah, I like her
Mm,
vibe. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's just so funny that you mentioned trends because trends are always evolving. And
yeah,
I think it's interesting how one minute you're in and the next you're out. And it's why you can't really put too much stock in the opinion of others because if you're constantly chasing trends, you're eventually going to lose yourself along the way. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's
I
important.
understand.
Yeah, it's important to know exactly, at least if you don't know exactly who you are, have an idea. Have an idea of what works for you and what doesn't work. Because, I mean, if you're somebody who is more conservative, of course, we don't expect you to walk around in like pleaser heels and like a bustier, like a leather bustier. You know what I mean? It's like, because that wouldn't work for you. But your conservative outfits might be trendy eventually, but I mean, it might be hot for 5 minutes and then 5 minutes later it's back to stripper chic, which is always in style for me. Not gonna lie. Like that's always never gonna like run out. Like I love that aesthetic, not gonna lie. But yeah, for me, it's interesting that you also mentioned that like your style is also preppy, but also cottage core, which I think is like a very good representation of your personality based on what I have,
Oh,
seen so far. Because, the preppy version would, represent the type of you the part of you, I should say, that's very, I don't want to say OCD because there's so much stigma
it
around
is.
it.
It definitely is that though. I
It's
am
like,
clinically diagnosed. Yes,
I don't know if
but
you've watched.
yes, I'm a very structured
Hmm.
individual.
Yep, very
And
disciplined.
it's interesting because I feel like I'm in my mind, I think I'm a very free flowing, kind of
Mhm.
airy, all
Right,
over the place. But I'm also super structured. So it's always uh, an anomaly. I would
right.
say. I'm
And
more of an anomaly because I don't know how these two kinds of vibes are vibing.
no, they don't know because, and I say it all the time. Like, I wish I had your discipline and structure because everybody who knows me knows I'm like chaotic and messy. But it's like you're very, I don't want to say type A, but you're
I
very,
am type. It's
you said it, not
you're
me.
hitting the nail on the head. I
But
am very much a type A person. Yes.
it's very much Spencer Hastings from Pretty Little Liars. That's the vibe you give.
Someone
But
told me that before, actually.
I love Spencer. Like, she was my favorite character, not gonna lie.
To
Um,
find out she had a twin.
and yeah, don't get me started.
Honestly, I
Every
haven't finished that, but I watched. Did you watch Mike's Mike? I'm so sorry for changing the subject,
no, no,
but did
no.
you
I love
watch
Mike's
this?
Mike. He's
Okay,
hilarious.
I
He's
watched this
hilarious.
unhinged Pretty Little Liars
Hmm.
thing, and when I found out, wow, let me not spoil it for those who haven't finished
I
it like
mean, in
myself,
your defense, the
but
show has been finished for years.
I know,
So
but I'm
yeah.
sorry to all those Pretty Little
No,
Liars.
but
What?
listen, like when I found out that like Spencer had an evil twin that was British, I'm like, what? It just so
Like,
convoluted. I
get
wish they had
up,
stuck to the
right?
storyline from the books.
What?
Like, just make Alison be A or let her be the
No.
one with the twin. Because throughout the show, there were so many like motifs of like twins and dualities and doubles. It's like, Marlene King, when I catch you. Like, ugh, I'm
Right,
heated.
but you had asked me to who is my fashion. inspiration,
Right.
and what else did you ask
Girl,
me?
I asked
Well,
you
my
so many questions,
passion,
but let's start
you've
with
asked
that
me
one.
quite a bit. I'm trying to like keep track in my mind.
Like, keep
So I
up,
told you
keep
what my
up.
aesthetic is. Yeah, you asked me that too. So my
Mm-hmm.
fashion icons and inspiration. What I
Mm-hmm.
will say is, although I like those aesthetics, I
Mm-hmm.
do think my style is very sentimental.
Okay.
I think
What
a
do you mean
lot
by
of
that?
what I wear has some significance to my life or
Mm-hmm.
to things I aspire to become.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very, very sentimental person, and so you will catch me in things that were in my mother's closet. I have a lot of things that come from my mom. I think
Vintage. Love that.
my mom is definitely my fashion inspiration. She has
Oh.
always been that for me. My
Mm-hmm.
dad as well. My dad had a he's a graphic designer, and he actually had a t-shirt business where he would airbrush shirts and make them custom, and it was a whole thing. So I think that too is where my love for big t-shirts and just really artsy kind of clothing pieces play a significant role in my fashion identity, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
two, because his brand was in the 90s, and I've always been had an interest in fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Him being my father, he would always show me like this is cotton and this is that.
I
And
love
my
that.
mom
Like, he gave you a true education. I love that.
right. And my mom loves she loves a lot of preppy stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
She loves knitted fabric. She loves pearls. She loves blue. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of blue in my closet. She loves stripes. I adore stripes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a very comfortable kind of vibe that I like to always be in. I really care about the material that the clothes are made from, which is why I went on that tangent about my dad having a t-shirt business. But literally, I'm
Right.
saying all that to say that I'm heavily influenced by those around me, specifically my family. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmothers on both sides have introduced me to jewelry. I was
Mm-hmm.
in my grandma's room the other day, and she was asking me to get something for her. And I was going through it, and I saw this watch. I've seen this watch for years. She has worn it for years. And then for some reason, my eyes kind of zoned in, or whatever. And I saw that the watch face was a G. And I was like, oh, G, that's so cute. But your name doesn't start with a G. And then I took
It's
it up.
G
And
for Gucci.
it
Hello.
is G for Gucci. It is G for Gucci, vintage Gucci. I'm like, Grandma, did you know this was Gucci? She was like, yes, your grandfather got it for me. I was like,
Oh
what?
my
Just casually
God.
wearing Gucci this whole time.
I
But
love
I'm
that.
saying all of that to say that the pieces that she wears in terms
Mm-hmm.
of jewelry, and my other grandma as well, who lives abroad, every time she comes down she gives me jewelry, whether it means brand new or from her collection. And that is why a lot of the things that I wear can't be found somewhere else, because I care about the pieces that I receive from my family members. And if I am to purchase something, it has to mean something to me. So if it means it's a knitted fabric, or the neckline is a boat neckline similar to a top my mom would have worn when
Mm-hmm.
I was a child, like I'm always searching for things, searching
Mm-hmm.
for those I love in pieces I choose to call my own. So that
I
is
love that
my
so
fashion
much.
identity, I'd say, and my personal style. Very much sentimental and cutesy.
Nostalgic, right?
Very, very demure, very mindful.
Very cutesy.
Very.
It's so funny you mentioned the color blue because at some point when you're talking about the influence that your parents had on your personal style, I was thinking about this lyric that Beyonce had on a song from Everything Is Love. I forgot which one, but she was basically talking about how she's going to pass down her dresses to Blue when Blue gets
Right. Oh,
older.
that's cute.
I know. And so by the time that Blue is like 18, 19, a young woman, a young lady,
Yeah.
whatever B passes down to her, it's gonna become vintage and it's gonna
Mhm.
become trendy at that point. You know what I mean? So it's
My mom
just
did something similar for me too. I have a velvet dress. She
mhm.
said she saw it and she loved it and she saved it for her future daughter, not knowing if she would have a daughter or not. And I
And if
thought that
you
was
and even
really
if she didn't, she'd still give her son
it's
and be
it's
like,
it's in my closet right now. It's
I
my
love that.
favorite possession and I just really love it. It's vintage and I love it. And I
I
love my
love that.
mom and I love my dad and I love my grandma. Okay, family, I love
I
you.
love that. It's just so interesting and amazing how much our environment and our upbringing shapes our style.
Yeah.
Because for me, I actually like for the longest time my style was preppy because I was like that teacher's pet, goody two shoes who
Mhm.
always did well in school. So that was my identity. So of course I gravitated towards like, button down tops and like, loafers and like, everything you associate with like preppy
Right.
style for men. Like that was my vibe. But then as I got older, it's like we're constantly renegotiating our identities. And it's like I remember when I made it to college, it's like I wasn't as invested in school as much as I was like figuring out, okay, who am I as a person? What do I want? What do I want to do? And
Yeah.
so my style shifted gradually from preppy to more tie-dye, more hippie,
Mhm.
more floral, more colorful, because that was what I was feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
understand.
no, go ahead. Oh, you're saying
I'm saying,
something?
yeah, I understand. I get what you mean.
Right, right, right. And I realize that every time I'm going through a particular era of my life, you can track the progress of what I was going through based on my clothes. You know what I mean? And I just think that's so interesting, like how fashion tells a story. You know what I mean? Like whether we're conscious of it or not, you know?
Right.
And I would then ask you, walk me through your style. How has it evolved over time? Like, I want to, gauge how much pop culture or the media has influenced how your style has evolved like over the years. Can you
Okay.
track how it's changed personally?
Yeah, I remember a specific incident at primary school. So my school would have a teachers' day, as
Mhm.
schools do. But at my school, when it was teachers' day, the prefects, sub prefects would have the opportunity to teach the entire school. So
Cool.
that means first grade, second grade, third grade, and so on. Like we would
Right.
go in and teach, and then the teachers would leave half day, and we
Hmm.
would just be left with the children. That
You know,
sounds really bad in
no, you
hindsight.
want to know what's funny? I was a prefect as well. We did something similar. I wonder if this is like a
Oh, okay,
universal
great.
Jamaican experience. Like,
Maybe this is
hmm,
my first time hearing of that, but yeah, we did that, and that
interesting.
specific Teachers' Day, I never forget got it. I had the cutest, and I still believe so. I had the cutest skirt. It was like a tiered skirt. I don't know if so. Currently, there's this maxi skirt that is super trendy. It's white and it has different layers, almost like a cake. So picture that, but it wasn't maxi. It would be knee length, and each layer had a trimming of a different shade of pink. So it would
Hmm.
start at light pink and go to dark pink. Then I wore a white camisole top,
Hmm.
and I had a pink, the cutest pink cardigan, as
Like,
well as
like
some
pastel pink?
pastel pink
Mm,
cardigan to match one of the shades of pink in the pink and white skirt.
love
I
that.
had on a loafer. It was black because
Mhm.
at the time I thought wearing pink, white, and black was really chic. It
It,
was
it
so
sounds,
chic.
I'm visualizing. I can see the vision. It
And
does
I
sound
wore
chic.
white socks with it because I thought that was so cute. My hair was so cute, and I went out into the world with my black handbag because my bag has to match my shoes. Because if my bag doesn't match my shoes, something is utterly wrong with me?
Wrong.
So I,
Exactly.
I went to school. I felt so cute. Loved my
First
outfit
verse.
too much. And everyone hated it. Everyone literally hated it. They called me grandma the entire day. I was so devastated. I cried.
Kids
And
are so mean. They can be so cruel. But please, like they
you,
didn't know what the hell that
if
about.
you
Like,
heard the fundamentals of my personal style earlier, you'll understand that everything that I said a while ago are literally things I enjoy
mm-hmm,
currently.
right.
So that being said, that I'm happy that that time in my life
Mm-hmm.
didn't deter me
Influence, yeah, like your
to like
self-esteem
not
or
be
like, your
myself.
right. Or,
I came home and I cried on the steps, and my mom was like, "I told you, I told
wait, your
you."
mom told you you look like a granny. She's like, Belle, don't
She's
step
like,
out the
"No,"
house.
she was like, she was trying to tell me that I should wear something a little less that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Less
in my
age.
mind, I thought it was the sickest thing. I felt so cool. I felt so confident. Like no one's
Mhm.
gonna be in this outfit. I slay. I
Right.
didn't, and it was just a
I
big
wish
flop
you took a
for
pic of
others.
that
But
outfit
I
so I
I
could see.
enjoyed that outfit, and I tell you, if I would have worn it today, it would still eat. It was
It
an
would
excellent
leave no
outfit.
crumbs.
It might have aged me, and
You want to
but
know? I
I
just
loved my
feel.
grandma, so I didn't think anything
Mm,
of it. I was just sad that everyone else was in their generic outfits, looking like
mm,
actual teachers, and I was just there in my pink and white
right.
outfit. So
And
you can see,
you were just too ahead of your time.
I
Like they just
agree.
they didn't get it. They didn't get it. They didn't get it. But
Yeah, and that's fine. So my style since then has always had some level of preppiness to it. I
mhm,
will say in 2010, 2012, thereabout when we're in high school, back when those Galaxy
mhm.
stuff was trendy, and I had, oh my god, I went through that phase not by choice, but my uncle had gotten some stuff for me that was really cool. I had a skater skirt. It was amazing.
Cool. Oh my God, did you
It
go
was
through
really
like, I don't want to call it a punk phase, but honestly, like in high school, I was obsessed with Gaga, like Lady Gaga. She is and continues, is and will forever be my fashion icon. So it's like
mm,
there was a specific moment in time around that same time, interestingly enough, like 2010, 2012, where it's like my style was very dark. Like skulls, leather studs, and just black. I was
mm,
I was very much into that Fame Monster-esque energy that Gaga had during that time. It was very edgy, it was very avant-garde, but I don't know, it was just interesting to witness how I went from like preppy to edgy to
mm.
colorful throughout that time in my life where it's like, you know what I mean? So it's just interesting. So I was
Yeah,
just curious if you personally ever had like a phase where like your aesthetic was kind of darker than how
I wouldn't
people.
say so. No, I went through the whole galaxy kind of phase, but that was, as I was saying earlier, it's just because my uncle got me some stuff that were cool and trendy at the time, and
Oh,
that included print from Galaxy,
right.
that specific
It's
purple and
like,
blue
yeah, very
Galaxy
Tumblr core.
print. Right, and I was very much on Tumblr, so I
Same.
was super excited to be a part of that and to just wear stuff that spoke to that aspect of my life. I've never fully gone super dark, but I had a recent encounter where someone was describing me
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, you mean that goth girl?" I'm
God,
like, "Me, a goth?
that's the
Okay."
last word I
Consider
used to
wearing
describe you.
stockings.
That's
I
crazy.
would say though, in university, I decided that because I was gonna do a legal career, I would just
Mm-hmm.
start wearing all black from now. So I did wear a lot of black, a lot of stockings, a lot of sweaters, and I thought it was cute. I didn't think it was gothy, but to
I
each
didn't
their
know you
own,
had.
I
I didn't
Yes.
know you had an Elwood phase, Felly.
It
Like,
was very much giving very smart, very sophisticated, but very cool. And
which
I
is
like
like
that part
the
of me.
advanced version of the preppy style you had. So it's like it's
Yeah.
evolved. It's not like a deviation. It's more like the
Mm-mm.
mature version.
I would wear every single thing I wore then. And what I like, uh, what is it? A term people like to describe my style as is rich mom. And I, I wholeheartedly agree. My friend told me, she's like, your
I
style
can
is
see that.
rich mom. And I'm
I
like, you know
can
what?
see that.
Exactly, and that makes sense because I like a lot of the stuff my mom wears. So
Mm.
the mother term tracks for sure.
She's mothering. She's mothering.
Hmm.
And it's so funny because like if you were to see my Pinterest board currently, I do have like a board specific for fashion. It's
Hmm.
very
So
preppy.
yeah.
Twinsies, I know that's right. Like I do have like the aesthetic is very much old money. And I'm like, it's
Hmm.
very maybe there's a part of it that's like aspiring towards
You
that.
know what I saw recently?
Hmm.
I saw someone say that I don't know if you're into astrology. I'm
I
sorry for
am.
all those
I
people
am.
who aren't, but for me, um, I love seeing videos about astrology. I think it's so cool that people believe that the stars in the sky directly affect who we are and
Yep,
how we present
yep,
ourselves,
yep.
whether we're speaking or not. And
Mm-hmm.
there was someone who said that your Venus sign,
Mm-hmm.
if you dress like that sign, you will be more attractive. And for me, my Venus sign is a Capricorn. And when you think of Capricorns, immediately you go to academia and
Mm.
preppy. And the fact that I've always gravitated to that kind of
Mm-hmm.
style, I thought, oh my God, okay, so figure out what your Venus sign is. And for those who don't know, you can go on Cafe Astrology
Astrology. Mm-hmm.
and it will tell you, as long as you
Your
know
birth
the
chart.
time you were born,
Right.
once you know the time you were born, that can affect it. But if you don't know, you can still figure it out and they'll give you an estimation. But knowing the time you were born does affect it. And yeah, from my
You know,
understanding, I'm a Capricorn Venus. It also makes sense why I'm a little more rigid, I guess, but
it
still
was
fluid, but rigid.
it's
And
funny because like I myself am into astrology as well. Like I remember a specific moment when I was younger, like around 6, 7. Like I thought I was a Libra for the longest time because because my birthday is September 16th. I misinterpreted
okay,
it.
wait, what
Um
are you then? You're
oh
you're a Leo?
I'm a Virgo. I'm a
I
Virgo.
thought you were a Virgo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
am. Yeah, so I thought I was a Libra because I misread the time. So like Libra starts in like 20 September 23rd, is that correct?
twenty
So
second.
22nd. So I don't know why I thought that like if I was born in September 16th, somehow I'm affiliated with that sign. So my best friend at the time, who was my next door neighbor, who she was like 20 something years older than I am. I used to go over her house all the time and listen to Destiny's Child. It was amazing. Anyway, I'd like show her my horoscope and I'd be like, look what it says, look what it says. And she's like, Chico, you are not a Libra, you're a Virgo. And I'm like, what do you mean? No. I'm a Libra. So my worldview completely shattered and shifted, and then suddenly it made sense. Certain characteristics of myself. I am very hypercritical. I'm very meticulous in certain things. Other things I'm chaotic. Like when it comes to people say that Virgos are like neat freaks, but that's a myth. Like I will just throw things all over I'll
To
stuff
be
things in my
honest, my cousin is a Virgo, and I thought it was incorrect
right.
because she isn't neat. But I
No,
do think her neatness manifests itself in other areas of her life that wouldn't be readily seen as or
exactly.
viewed, I guess, as neat. So that is how I was like, oh, so you are a Virgo, just not that way.
Exactly.
So she's
Exactly.
very meticulous and very neat about certain things.
Right. But
On the
other things is
generic,
just
yeah.
chaotic.
So it's very, very interesting the way these kinds of characteristics that they say are unique to these signs manifest themselves.
Hmm. For sure, because there are also other parts of your chart that do influence, of course, your life and your personality. Like for me, interestingly enough, I don't know my exact birth time because it's not on my birth certificate.
It's
And
not on anyone's certificate in our country.
right, but I'm wondering if I should go to the hospital and inquire. Like,
Can't
would
you
they
just ask your mom?
want to know what's funny? I've asked her 3 different times, and the answer changes 3 different times.
Mm, ask your dad or
Please, my father
whoever.
forgets my birthday.
Uh, well,
But
yeah, it's like personal style. Your astrology has to do with your personality, so it all
mhm,
is combined in a very big melting pot of experiences, and I
it
don't know,
does. It
a
does.
lot
And
of
it's
things.
like I'm really curious to find out what my Venus sign is because based on the first time I asked my mom what my birth time was, I did like write it down. And I was like, okay, so that means I'm a Scorpio moon and a Scorpio rising. Love that. So Virgo sun, Scorpio moon, Scorpio rising, based on that first time that she told me. But then just to like test her, I guess I asked her another time, like maybe a year later, and like it was like 12 something, and I was just like, what? Oh, you
Mm.
told me it was like eight. So I don't know. She can't be trusted. So I'm like, I should probably go to the hospital and inquire, but would they think it's like annoying? Like, would they even have the records? Like,
Maybe you
okay,
can give them a call before you go down there, and then
right?
the
Can you
time.
imagine? Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Just waste my time just to go out there and they're like, yeah, sorry, we never digitized those. Sorry, you're out of luck, kid. But yeah, it's just interesting, like how our styles have evolved over time.
Mhm.
And I'm curious if you have any tips, practical tips for people who want to discover their personal style. Like, what would you recommend?
To be honest, I've watched a lot of YouTube. I just love figuring out the way people's minds works and how they express themselves. At one point, I wanted to be a psychologist so I could
So
help
did
people.
I. So did I. Oh my God,
Right?
Felly, what?
But through doing that, through watching a lot of videos too on persons teaching me like, here's how you can discover your personal style.
Hmm.
Um, I've picked up a few things from what they've said, but also from my own personal experience. I just did a full purge of my
Wow.
entire wardrobe, and there were
Same.
three key things I kept in mind when purging my closet. The first thing is, how does this article of clothing make me feel when I wear it?
Right.
Do I feel happy with the reflection I'm seeing?
Hmm.
Do I think it reflects who I am now? Do I like the fit of it? Why do I have this? So, how does it make me feel?
Right.
That's the first thing. The second thing is, how often do I wear this? Is
Mm-hmm.
it something I find myself gravitating towards a lot? Is it something I find myself gravitating towards for specific instances, or is it something I just keep in there? And if that special unique time arrives, then I will wear it, but I've never worn it since the full 5 years I've had the thing. So, how often am I using this article of clothing? That's point
Hmm.
number two. And point number three is, can this article of clothing grow with me? Or is it something that is just for me right now? So
Right.
that is usually what your maybe pile will be. So
Hmm.
if anything doesn't fit into those three buckets, I put them to the side. And what I was left with is a specific color scheme. I was left with things I genuinely loved. I was left with things that worked with each other, which was very interesting to me. And I was just left with high quality things. Quality that means to
Nothing
me
on Sheen.
things that no, no, no. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm.
A quality item means it's something that is valuable to you and your lifestyle. And I really hate when people make fun of Shein or H&M or wherever it is you
Right.
shop. You can have quality staple pieces
Agreed.
the quality and the stapleness of that piece is unique to your own experiences. So if you like to shop at Prada and you prefer a Prada t-shirt to a H&M t-shirt, you go to Prada and you buy your Prada t-shirt. I am fine with my Uniqlo t-shirt, and
Hmm.
the Uniqlo t-shirt works best for me. And if I feel like one day when I can afford to buy the Prada t-shirt because I know the quality of the Prada t-shirt, then I will do that. So you have to be very intentional with
Hmm.
how you purge your closet, and ultimately those around you too, because the people around you affects who you are as well, whether you want to admit it or not. They're like, oh, people know about. That's not true.
It's not
Even
true.
even if you're not actively talking to people, if you're not actively in that environment, like, things affect you. So as I was purging my closet too, I was also purging things in my life, like not holding on to things anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and just being super real and vulnerable with myself as it relates to who I am right now and the
Hmm.
person I'm becoming. Now
Right.
that did leave a lot of gaps in my closet, and I'm still to this day working on filling those gaps, but I am happy that I am in the position that I am to be
Hmm.
filling those gaps versus having a bunch of useless things that could be used better for someone else. So a
Right.
lot of what I purged to was either given away, and I had at one point made a little online thrift store and got
Really?
them. Yeah.
Love that.
It's just been a very fulfilling experience. And once you like start getting rid of stuff, which is something my grandma always instilled in me and my mom as well,
Hmm.
to get rid of things, like there's always someone who needs the stuff more than you.
Right.
And my grandma said to never give away something you don't want. That's a
I,
very crazy thing to say, but it, for me, allowed me to not just choose stuff to give away to people that was just not good quality or just something
right.
I'm like, oh, I don't like this, let me give it away. Like, ensure that the stuff that you're giving away is something that will be useful to another. So I'm never going to give away something that I genuinely don't love or
Right.
care for. Like, it doesn't make any sense to give something that can't be useful to another person.
Right.
So those are my three pillars. Ensure that the thing is something you gravitate towards, ensure that it can grow with you, and ensure that it is something that you truly, genuinely love. And for something to be loved by me, it has to fit me. I have to feel comfortable when I'm wearing
Hmm.
it. I have to
Right.
think I look good in it. And I
Right.
have to feel some kind of an emotional connection to the article of clothing, because as I said earlier, I'm a very sentimental person.
Sentimental.
So I don't want
Right.
anything in my closet to not look like me. If it doesn't look like me, bye.
You're right. And I'm glad that you are self-aware enough to recognize what no longer served you, like whether it was like, you know, in a stylistic way or just where you were in that period
Mhm.
era of your life. That's very, very mature. And yeah, I feel like that's solid advice actually. And I'd also suggest that people start small. Like you don't overwhelm yourself to have like a shopping cart filled with clothes because it's like, how are you gonna wear all of those at once? Probably not. So start small. It's like budget. Like you don't have to like, go into debt to afford, good quality clothes.
Look
Sustainable
at your
shop. Mhm.
materials for sure. That's
Yeah,
another thing. Like, look at what the article of clothing is made of,
right.
and really care about how you're spending your money.
Yep.
Now, there are a lot of options out there in
Hmm.
terms of where you could purchase something from,
Hmm.
and you should definitely determine what your pocket can afford now
Yep.
and what you're willing to invest in. A lot of people talk about investment pieces,
Hmm.
which is a huge topic. So it's also recognizing, okay, maybe I can't afford that really nice thing that I want, but I can save towards it. And
Right.
then I can get the thing that will have a lot of wear and it will live with me for a very long time. And if possible, maybe you want to give it away to someone, and it will still be valued and cherished by someone else. Like, really care about the things that you're purchasing,
Mhm.
and it starts from what it's being made of.
Right, exactly. I'm glad that, you mentioned paying attention to quality. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you don't have to be one of those people who, you know, worship Carrie Bradshaw and wants to live the Sex and the City life, and like you have this closet filled with like Jimmy Choos and like,
I would
all
love
the
that closet.
well, yes, well, yes. But I mean, at one point she like couldn't afford to pay her rent
I
because,
mean, we always can't afford stuff. It's very embarrassing,
I
but
know.
also slay. You
Yeah.
know, she might
Like
not know what her rent is, but her shoes,
her shoe game is always
slay.
on point. Like
Yeah,
real, so real for that. But yeah, it's like there are options, sustainable shopping and, thrifting, there is no shame in like secondhand vintage clothing. There's no shame in like, buying things that are quote unquote cheap. And cheap doesn't necessarily mean, cheap as in the quality. It's affordable.
hmm.
And so that's solid sound advice, I'd say. Personally, would you say you prioritize comfort or practicality, or do you prioritize individuality and, you know, showing your personality more?
I do prioritize comfort more than I
Mm-hmm.
used to, but I'm still gonna wear the heels if the outfit calls for the heel, because there's nowhere I'm wearing flat shoes with that outfit. Like,
It,
absolutely not. I
it's like,
really care about the way that things look. I care about silhouettes. The silhouette calls for a heel. Who am I to deny the
you're
silhouette?
like category five hurricane, be damned. I'm going to wear these 6-inch pumps. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's me.
Exactly. And to piggyback on that point, like I think it's also good to like experiment with like colors and silhouettes, as you mentioned. Like step outside of your comfort zone. Like it's part of figuring out what feels authentic to you.
Is what's so great about a platform like Pinterest,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives you the opportunity to explore and see different styles. Although I know that Pinterest and a lot of social media platforms are trying to tailor stuff more to people, it's
Mm-hmm.
still somewhat experimental. So what I will say is, Pinterest can be a good tool if
Mm-hmm.
used correctly. Meaning, you can go on Pinterest and find preppy style,
Right?
but where a lot of people fall short with that is the fact that they try to recreate that to the T, and that
Right.
is where we lose our personal style.
Right. Your authenticity for sure. Your
Right.
unique touch.
You are supposed to, this is from my own experience, I strongly believe that you're supposed to see that inspo pick, figure
Mm-hmm.
out, okay, why is it I like this? Is it because of the way the person is posing? Is it because I really like her shirt? Is it because I really like the way that her pants fit? Is it because I really like the way that his sweater is on? Do I like his overcoat and so on?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is how you should be looking at things. And then after you figure out those key things from the photograph that you enjoy, you go to your closet and you try to recreate those key things that you enjoy, and that is how you will end up with a personal style. I
Right.
forgot to mention earlier as well that although I did a
Mm-hmm.
purge also means determining, once you, after the purge, you figure out, okay, what is key to me? Because
Mm-hmm.
you will have a pile of clothes. Hopefully you find something that is something you enjoy, but hopefully you have a good framework to work with. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, I saw a lot of sweaters, I saw a lot of jeans, I saw a lot of colors. So based on that, I know that my basics need to be sweaters,
Right.
I need to have jeans,
Mm-hmm.
I need to have t-shirts.
Right.
Then with those fundamental pieces, you can get key fun stuff that are still in alignment with who you are and how you
Right.
feel yourself, and then that's how you have style, because everyone can wear the same t-shirt and
Hmm.
it looks differently on everyone because
Exactly.
of personal style, because of
E-
all those key things that you believe are visual
Exactly.
representation of who you are. So definitely get basics, but basics for everyone isn't the same.
Right.
Like to say like you should have a white shirt and you should have a straight jeans, and but what if I hate straight jeans, and what if I don't like wearing white, I prefer a cream or off-white. Like that is how
Right.
figure out who you are within the fashion world, and
Hmm.
then you build upon that through accessories, through shoes,
Yeah,
through hats,
for
jewelry,
sure. For
your hair.
sure. And no, for sure, for sure. I agree wholeheartedly. And it's like the more you do that, the more confident you will become. You'll learn to trust your instincts more. And,
Definitely.
you'll discover what works for you, like, your body type and, your, because as you mentioned, what works for somebody else might not work for you. And yeah,
That's some people like to see that as a negative thing, but it's
mhm.
literally amazing to know that what works for me literally doesn't work for anyone else, because
Right,
it's so freeing, because then I can figure out what is really right for me
right.
and bask in that joy that this thing, it works for me and this is
Exactly.
amazing. And then if you find it and you like it, you can get it in another color and that you
No,
like as well, so it's amazing.
I agree completely. And it's so freeing when you stop dressing for others and start dressing for yourself. Like it's so much fun.
What
It's
I
so
will
much
say
fun.
is though that there are some places that do require you to dress a certain
Of
way,
course, of course. Time and
definitely.
place. Time and
But
place, for sure.
for sure, figuring out who you are within the confines of that dress code is personal style.
Of course. I think that's amazing. And I also think people should be encouraged to like play with gender sometimes. Like, if it means being androgynous or like, wearing something that perhaps is like feminine if you're a man or masculine if you're a woman, it's like, why not? Shake it up a little bit. I think
Yeah,
that will
because
help you.
fashion isn't a
Ge-
gender, it's
It's not.
genderless,
It's
to be
gender
honest.
neutral. It's
And
gender
back in the
neutral.
day, pink was actually a masculine color. And
Right.
for quite a while within high society, it was men who wore high heels. So a lot of things have changed throughout the years.
Hmm.
And a really awesome person that does a great way of exploring gender bending um, dressing is Wisdom K. He's a
Hmm.
super popular TikToker known for his style. And
Hmm.
first of all, it's amazing to see the levels that he has exceeded from his college and campus fit checks he used to do to being a fully fledged stylist and creative director for various shoots. Like it's amazing. He has also modeled. So just seeing stories like that is so inspirational as well, to
Hmm.
just be who you are and be okay with that. And yeah,
Right.
you may wear a pink and white skirt and a cardigan and and loafers and white socks, and people laugh at you and call you a grandma. But you have to rise above it and figure out, okay, do I care about how others think about what I'm wearing, or do I care more about how I think and how I feel in these articles of clothing? And if you find yourself caring about how others think, that literally is fine.
Hmm.
Everyone is gonna be thick skinned and can deal with those things. Like you figure out what your balance is and exist within the confines of that until you're able to exceed that. Because we're
Right.
always changing and becoming who we are. So have
Exactly.
fun in your becoming.
I love that. I think that's a perfect way to wrap up this episode, to be honest. Like have fun in your
We're
becoming.
all becoming who we are. So have fun in your becoming.
Right. And so, of course, I just want to thank Felly again for, having this fruitful discussion with me on all things fashion and personal style. We hope that this episode inspires you to embrace your unique style and maybe even try something new. And just a reminder, style is a journey, it's not a destination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, just thank you so much for listening today, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.